Pariyati Audiobooks presents The Buddha, a unique teacher by Francis Story, narrated by Sanjeev Kumar. The Buddha, a unique teacher. History has produced many great figures, but none in this present cycle or time as impressive and memorable as that of Siddhartha Gautama, the Sakyan prince, who became the world's greatest spiritual guide. He was unique as a personality and unique as a teacher. There have been countless enlightened ones before him, and there will be more as long as samsara endures. But he is the only one of whom we have actual historical knowledge, and his life has been a source of wonder and inspiration for more than 20 centuries. It continues to be so today. Every Buddhist is familiar with the miraculous stories connected with Prince Siddhartha's birth and early manhood. The traditional tales handed down from generation to generation of Buddhists are full of marvels, some of which are difficult for the modern mind to accept as literally true. In this, Buddhism is no different from other creeds. All of them have their accretions of the supernatural, the legends that time and the devotion of the faithful have woven about the lives of their founders. But whereas in most other religions the supernatural events are an essential part of the faith, to be held as proof that the founder was a divine personage, an incarnation of God or a prophet, especially singled out to be God's spokesman on earth, in Buddhism, they have no importance at all, because the Buddha did not claim to be any of these things. A Buddhist may believe the stories literally, or he may regard them as fiction. The uniqueness of the Buddha does not rest upon miracles, but upon the plain, ungarlanded facts of his life and, above all, on the realizable truth of his teaching. The facts themselves are powerful enough to move us to awe and veneration. They confront us with something outside normal experience, a challenge to the world's accepted values and to some of its most cherished goals. The world of Prince Siddhartha's time was not so very different from our own. Then, as today, men were inclined to worship power. They strove for wealth and position, reveled in luxury when they could, and lamented their poverty when they could not. They loved and hated, quarreled and cheated, were cowards at times and heroes at times, were mean and noble by turns, just as they are now. They placed the greatest value on the pleasures of the senses and did their best to ignore the tragedies around them, turning a blind eye to sickness and pain, and above all trying to forget the death that awaits us all, king and beggar alike. And who was in a better position to enjoy life than the young prince of the Sakyas? Surrounded by every conceivable luxury, he was protected by his anxious father from even the distant sight of ugliness and suffering. His days were spent in delightful gardens from which every withered leaf had been diligently removed. The melodious song of birds and the splash of fountains soothed his ear. The green shade of cool arbors shielded him and his companions from the noonday heat, and the air was filled with the languorous scent of jasmine and frangipani. And at night, in the lofty hall of the palace, where great fans of peacock feathers gently stirred the air, he would watch the dancing girls weave sinuous patterns in the soft glow of perfumed lamps until, lulled by drowsy music, he would drift into the peaceful sleep of youth. The dancers would one by one stretch themselves on the carpeted floor and relax their tired limbs. The fingers of the sitar player would slip from the strings, and all would be quiet as the flickering lamps burned out. And so it was from day to day, a light and carefree existence. Why, then, was the young prince not happy? Could it be that he was troubled by some dark knowledge from a life before this? Did he suspect that the world outside the palace walls was not the happy, exquisite, and gentle world he knew that had been artificially made for him? Or did he have the unconscious knowledge that his life was already dedicated to something other than this, and that a supreme, self chosen task lay before him? We do not know. But a day came at last when foresights met his eyes and changed the whole course of his life. For the first time he saw old age, sickness, and death, and then, grieved beyond measure by this revelation of the true nature of existence, and pondering a remedy for its universal ills, his troubled eyes encountered the fourth sight, a man in a patched yellow robe, with shaven head and an alms bowl in his hand. It was another thing he had never seen before, and he did not know what it meant. But when he learned its meaning, the understanding of his destiny dawned clear and decisive for him. This was the hard path of the seeker for deliverance, the path he had to take. The fragile world of beauty and joy his father had created was shattered. It could not hold him any longer. That night, his slumber was uneasy. Rousing himself and shaking off his death-haunted dreams, he looked around him. The dancing girls lay where they had sunk down, their limbs